with Natalie, you saying that the people that we have in the targets, you have the men in the targets for their support for Trump. The people I have in the target, Christians. That's it. I have them heavily in there. And I say this because usually when people say the folks that they go after that are, the primary tent poles for the Trump coalition, it'll be men or white people in general. That's what they'll go for. And yes, that's true. But I like my Christian argument. I know I sound like the bitter atheist here or whatever, but I'm just telling you guys the way it is. And let me pull this up here, talking about this because. So if you look at our usual suspects, the ones that always put Republicans in office every single fucking election, we're going to have up the top, we have men. So men voted at 55% of all men voted for Donald Trump. And white people voted.
I'm actually surprised that split isn't greater. It genuinely surprised me that it's only a 10-point split.
Only a 10-point split. Like it seems like it should be worse than it actually is. But white people voted for Trump at 55%, kind of cringe. Men at 55%, white people at 57%. Now I want to jump down to religion. Religion in general. Where did it go here? Don't tell. Here it is. Okay. Christians. Protestant Christians and other Christian denominations, 63% for Donald Trump. That's not just white evangelicals. They're in the 80s, whatever. But your general Protestant Christians, 63%. Catholics, 59%. Both higher than like white people. So Christians get off the hook with this a lot. And I said, listen, you guys are the one claiming to have a one-on-one personal relationship with a triune deity who spoke reality into existence. And by the way, I'm on a first name basis with the guy's son, that you guys claim to have all this. And still he led you to supporting Donald Trump at greater rates than everybody else in the country. No one talks about this. No one talks about it. Like we still revere this death cult as if it's a positive to the nation. I think proof says otherwise, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I've got smoke for the Christians. But okay, I wanted to go to the second mailbag question. This one comes from Phillies and Pirates Suck Ass at gmail.com. And it says, hey, TJ, why is Pennsylvania so shitty? Listen, man, I don't know. I've been wondering about this for a long time.
TJ, I'm starting to think you're making these mailbag questions.
John, that was the first email I got for this segment we have here. I saw a dozen more. This is just, I don't know what's going on here. So I don't know, man. I was just thinking about Philadelphia and how awful it is. You know that, Pennsylvania, how awful it is. You know, Philadelphia used to be the capital of the nation, and they shit it away. It's gone. I had to go somewhere else. The Liberty Bell is the least impressive monument in the United States. You go watch this, like, oh God, this is kind of shitty. They send replicas around it all over the country. It's awful. The worst president in U.S. history, James Buchanan, came from Pennsylvania. The Quakers, just fucking annoying. They're known for that too. Punxsutawney Phil, go to hell. I can't believe we have this goofy ass ritual every February 2nd where people dress up like pilgrims and go watch this giant rat to see if it has a shadow. And we take it seriously. We take this. It's on the news every February 2nd. And I don't know why. We'll go to John first. Why do you think Pennsylvania sucks ass so much?
Yeah, TJ, I didn't really hear what you were saying because I was too busy thinking about how we're going to be playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday. And we have a saying in Philadelphia that goes something along the lines of, no one likes us, we don't care. So that both answers your question, like, actually, and also is my statement on it. Pennsylvania is a weird fucking state because you have, as you said, you have Philadelphia over where I am. You have Pittsburgh over where Natalie is, and then you have Alabama in the middle of it, just random.
True.
And it's a very weird dynamic in the state, especially where I grew up, which was like right on the outskirts, like right on the dividing line between Philadelphia and Alabama. So like I had people from the main line going to my school, and I had people from like the fucking sticks who grew up on farms. And it was a very interesting mix. My home county, Montgomery County, is one of the most electorally important counties in the country because it is that mix of those rural Alabama voters and those fucking Philly voters. And it's a weird fucking place. It's but I fucking love it. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Natalie, how do you like it over there on your side of the state?
I mean, I'm always trying to leave. And I just,
Come over to this side.
I
It's
just
better.
can't
The ocean
get out of
stays
here.
for-
I always, it's like Pittsburgh, I call it like a boomerang town. Like no matter what you do, you throw yourself out there, you end up right back where you started. You're like, how does this keep happening? I think my big issue with Pennsylvania in general is because we're an aging state, right? We're losing population, and at the same time, we're really being hostile about immigrants, which are the only things keeping a lot of our neighborhoods alive at all, and are bringing jobs and experiences and culture to our communities, and people fight it tooth and nail. And one of my friends who runs a Latin organization, I just talked to her today. They had to move locations because they've been getting so many death threats where they're at, and that's within the city of Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's a pretty blue place. So for me, it's just like, what the fuck, Pennsylvania? Like, what are you doing? You're cutting up your nose to spite your face. Like you could be making moves here if you would be more hospitable to people that want to come here and build lives and communities. And so that's my big frustration. But I do find it an exciting place to live as a journalist because the pendulum swings so rapidly and gives you whiplash. You just don't know which end is up. Democrats act like Republicans. Republicans could act like Democrats, and it flips back and forth every few years. You got people like Fetterman, what the hell they're going to do or say in the next, time around. So from that respect, it's a really interesting place. And then we got people like Summer Lee coming out of Pittsburgh that could make big moves nationally, I think. So to me, it's like this weird vortex of energy, but yeah, it's an exciting place to be, and also just a weird place.
All right.
Natalie, by the way, TJ did not warn me that was coming. I made the schedule for the show. That was not on it.
I like it.
Listen, John, you can access the left wing pod at gmail.com just like I can and see these emails. I don't know why you were thrown off by this.
Situation.
Yeah, come on. This is a lot of transparency here. Natalie, good to learn that you can't leave Pittsburgh, that it's Pittsburgh is the Hotel California. You try every time you try, it just brings you right back. That's pretty great. All right. What do we got next, John?
So this is an ongoing segment. If anyone wants to give us a name for this segment, I would really like it. But
I like the name.
I don't know, lost in the winds, lost in the maelstrom. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna have a lot of topics constantly over the next 4 years that aren't quite getting talked about enough because something else happened. And this week, I think that is Trump threatening to destroy the Department of Education. And I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One being that it doesn't actually align with his goals. The Department of Education has been a big Republican bugaboo for a long time, but Trump also wants to use the Department of Education to re-educate America's youth to be more patriotic and hate trans people. I can't imagine any historical parallels to a leader doing that thing. But he's trying to destroy it. And it's one of those things that's very hard to destroy because Congress has passed a lot of bills that only the Department of Education can go through. So even Donald Trump in his executive orders, which have been terribly written from a legal perspective, even this executive order was like, hey guys, we're going to try to start doing this, but I really want Congress to do this because I can't. So this is going to be a battle over the next 4 years. This is going to be ongoing. And in my opinion,
God, we have 4 years of this. Sorry. It just the minute you said it, I'm like, it's like, aren't we done yet? Have we suffered enough?
To tease our final segment today, we're doing a tier list, and I named it in my message to TJ and Natalie. It's going to be called Tier List: Trump's Wall of Shame, ranking Trump's worst moves of the first. Wait, how the fuck has it only been 2.5 weeks of this shit? That is what we're going to be talking about. But with the Department of Education, this is going to be a long battle. And to me, education is one of those no-brainers of like, hey, invest as much fucking money as you want in education. I don't care if you're wasting some of it. That's where it should fucking go. Like, let's educate the next generation because they're the ones who's going to be taking care of us when we're old. And for whatever reason, I know why conservatives hate education, but I've never really understood the argument that they are making in reality. Because I feel like that should just be so blatantly obvious to everyone. And I do think that, like, if he destroys this enough, it is one of those issues that when you fuck with someone's kids, it can rile them up a lot and, change their mind about certain things. I don't know. Natalie, I'll go to you first. Do you think that this is a fight, obviously, that we should be fighting, but that is winnable to a degree that can really hurt Trump?
I think this might be one of those issues that's more of a distraction. Because to your point, there's so much that's in the Department of Education. I mean, we're talking about student loans and how we, monitor our school system. But I think at the end of the day, all of this is just coming down to tax breaks because, and how they're going to come up with the money for these tax cut for billionaires. Because what I read today, and of course, if I'm wrong, fact check this later, but I had read that the entire federal budget for K through 12 is almost as much as one corporation's tax break. So if they were able to cut that would pay for one of the biggest corporations' tax breaks. And so when you start to think, I think it was Robert Reich that said it. And I think when you start thinking about it that way and you realize the end goal with anything that he's doing right now, what I've been trying to do is look at it through just the lens of how does this help them get tax breaks for the billionaire class? Because to me, that's just what that's what they want. They want to pay as little corporate tax as possible, and they don't want taxes at all for the 1%ers. Of course, they want them for the rest of us, and we're all going to pay more. But anybody making over a certain amount of money, they want it to go down because they have their billionaire overlords to deal with that funded his election. So for me, I don't even know if it matters what he's able to do or not do, as long as it helps move along the narrative that this money being cut is then going to be offset by the tax breaks that he's going to give the 1%. You said something where I hope when you mess with people's kids, that gets them. I feel very unsure of that anymore, because I thought COVID, that messed with people's kids, not having clean air in their schools. I thought things like that would really rally people. They don't want their children to be ill all of the time, but instead they turned it into this anti-vaxxer, rally, which was wild to me. So I don't know. I could almost see them somehow turning it against themselves, which they seem to do a lot of. And that, I think, is what makes me sad, because they don't have the critical thinking to really put the pieces together, and they're just going to be passing that around and generationally. So then their kids aren't going to be able to be thinking critically about these issues. And I saw something too, to TJ's point, about where the Christian fundamentalism falls into play, where they want to start promoting education around young girls. I saw this with Mike Johnson about the benefits and the importance of having children, and promoting that to very young girls. And so this idea of, once again, forcing women back into the home space, indoctrinating them at a very young age so that they think that's normal. So there's a lot, John, to really tease apart here. I don't know how successful he'll be on any one of these issues, but as long as it gets them closer to their goal of shutting down all public funding for everything that is not a tax cut for a billionaire, is really, I think, where this is all headed.
Natalie, I don't know if I think it's a distraction because this has been this has been a Republican thing for a long time. Yeah. This is something that I'm
not saying it's all a distraction. I just mean the idea of shutting the whole thing down. I don't know if that's going to actually happen. I feel like that's more of a grab you by the headline energy. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the Republican war on education, or the conservative war on education. I mean, it's always been there. You can go back to Edmund Burke, honestly. The slack-jawed rubes don't deserve this education. We need the divine bloodline chosen by God to actually lead us. Why are we bothering teaching these folks anything? And this goes down to what was her name? Caroline. What's her name? The press Caroline Levitt or something. This is a short clip, but this is someone asking her about Trump's threat to shut down the Department of Education. And she said something that I've heard 1,000 times from conservatives about what they believe the purpose of education is. And like I said, it's a short clip, but it speaks 1,000 words. There we go.
As the mother of a child, I want an education system that helps my child read and write, teaches him math, nothing else in the classroom. And the president is wholeheartedly committed to we can make academia great again.
All right.
God, I can't stand her. I'm sorry.
She's awful. She's awful. She's awful.
She is business Barbie. That briefcase is fucking empty. There's nothing here.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Jesus.
But this is something Republicans said a long time. They think the concept of public education is woke, is Marxist indoctrination nonsense. The kids should learn to read. They say reading, writing, arithmetic. They say it all the time. The idea of teaching them science, history, poetry, critical thinking is anathema to them. And I think that it falls into place with like what the conservative movement wants, is that they want worker bees who aren't thinking too much about what's going on around them, and that goes in line with what Elon Musk wants too. So I am kind of scared of that. I think that it really does signal like sadness for our future there.